So this week's lesson was about neural circuits, and here are the learning objectives, which we'll cover, and the keywords, which I define all of them. So starting with the nervous system is divided into two main parts, and that's the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord, which you can see here in pink. And that acts as a control center that processes information, stores memories, and directs responses. The brain coordinates at a higher level, and it controls thought, emotion, and decision making, while the spinal cord serves as a communication highway, transmitting signals between the brain and the rest of the body. Going to the peripheral nervous system, that includes all the nerves outside the CNS, though it is not limited to this, and it connects the control center to organs, muscles, and sensory receptors in order to ensure that the body can sense and then respond to changes in stimuli in the environment. Those two systems work together to keep the body functioning smoothly. Okay, so when it comes to the nervous tissue, that's going to be the primary building material of the nervous system. It's made up of specialized cells that transmit and process information. The main function of cells are neurons, which have a unique structure consisting of a cell body, and they have dendrites. If you zoom in here, you can see that the dendrites are here. You got the mitochondrion, cell body, etc. So surrounding and supporting the neurons are glial cells, which we will cover later in the later slide, but those provide nourishment, insulation, and protection. Together, neurons and glial cells create an intricate communication network that allows the body to sense, process, and respond to internal and external changes. These are all the vocabulary, and here's a picture that's labeled. I also recommend referencing this. So moving on to the general anatomy of a neuron is a basic structural and functional unit of the nervous system. It's specialized for transmitting electrical and chemical signals, and the anatomy includes the cell body, soma, dendrites, and the axon, as well as everything else that is labeled here. The cell body contains a nucleus, right here, and organelles that keep the neuron alive and functioning. Extending from the cell body are dendrites, right here, and those branch out like tree limbs in order to receive incoming signals from other neurons. This entire arrangement allows a neuron to collect and integrate vast amounts of information from its surroundings. So it's input-output. Moving along, we have white and gray matter. So white and gray matter are two key components of the central nervous system, but they differ when it comes to structure and function. Gray matter is made up of mostly neuron cell bodies, dendrites, and unmyelinated axons. That's key. Unmyelinated, myelinated, and white. With the unmyelinated and gray, this is why large amounts of gray matter are found in areas such as the cerebral cortex, which is responsible for higher level thinking, memory, and decision making. White matter, on the other hand, is composed of mainly myelinated axons, and the fatty myelinated sheath gives a pale color and allows for rapid transmission of electrical signals between different regions of the gray matter. Both of these together work to ensure that the nervous system functions effectively. Neurons are classified by their structure into pseudo-neopolar, bipolar, multipolar, and unipolar types. Pseudo-neopolar neurons have a single extension that splits into two branches, one connected to sensory receptors and the other leading to the spinal cord, making them specialized for transmitting sensory information like touch and pain. Bipolar neurons have two distinct extensions, one dendrite and one axon, which allows them to relay information in specialized senses such as vision, retina, and smell, olfactory systems. Multipolar neurons, which are the most common type in the nervous system, have one axon but many dendrites that branch from the cell body. All of these structures allow the nervous system to integrate signals from multiple sources, making them essential for motor control and complex processing from the brain and the spinal cord. Glial cells are also called neuroglia, and they are support cells of the nervous system that play vital roles in maintaining healthy neuron function. Unlike neurons, they do not transmit electrical signals, but they do provide structure, support, and protection, and also nourishment. There are several types of glial cells, with each of them with specialized functions. There are some listed here, but we're going to go into more of it over here. So there's two classes, macroglia and microglia, in each one of their corresponding classes. And over here, we have it divided as macrophages, astrocytes, oligoandocytes, and ependymocytes. I apologize for my pronunciation. All of these are very closely related to the nervous system because neurons can't work efficiently without them, and all of them ensure rapid signal transmission by regulating ion balance and neurotransmitters. Moving along, the difference between a neuron, nerve, ganglion. So a neuron is a basic functional unit of the nervous system, and that's responsible for electrical and chemical transmitting signals. A nerve, in contrast, is a bundle of axons wrapped together with connective tissue found in only the PNS, and they carry information to and from the CNS, acting like a communication highway. A ganglion, finally, is a cluster of neuron cells located again in the PNS, but they serve as a processing and relay station for sensory and autonomic information. On part 2, we have the spinal cord, which is a cylindrical structure of the nervous tissue that extends from the brainstem down to the vertebral column. It serves as a main communication pathway between the brain and the rest of the body, and it's organized into regions of gray matter, processing information, and white matter, transmitting signals up and down the cord. The spinal cord carries sensory information from the body to the brain and motor commands from the brain to the body. Down, up, and top down processing. All the definitions are listed here. So go ahead, pause the video and try to fill this in. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and skip quickly. And right here we have the information of it. So you prick your finger, it goes to the spinal nerve, and that signal rushes through it and transfers to the dorsal ganglion, where the sensory neuron cells are stored and act like a relay station for incoming signals. And then it enters the dorsal root and arrives to the dorsal horn, hits an interneuron, and transfers to the ventral horn, which is the command center for movement. And that motor neuron then sends its axon out through the ventral root, back into the spinal nerve, and then finally to the muscle in the arm. And the result of that is your muscle contracts quickly, pulling your hand away before you can even think about it from the negative stimuli. So meninges are protective membranes that surround the brain and the spinal cord and provide a barrier against injury and infection, while also helping to circulate cerebrospinal fluid, right? So that's going to be in a subarachnoid space, which is in arachnoid matter. There are 2 layers of dura mater, followed by arachnoid matter, and then also followed by pia mater. Pia mater is thin and closely adheres to the surface of the brain and the spinal cord, supplying blood vessels that nourish nervous tissue. And then down here we have all the definitions for that. On the next part, we got neural circuits. So neural circuits are organized networks of neurons that work together to process information and generate coordinated responses in the body. These circuits typically involve sensory neurons for sensation, response neurons for voluntary responses and involuntary responses, and integrate interneurons, which integrate and allow for integration of processing and receiving stimuli. And there's some more information on that here along with the structure. Go ahead and pause and screenshot that. So looking at this, we're going to connect it again with neural circuits. So they're very neuroplastic, and neuroplasticity allows the nervous system to modify connections based on experience, practice, or injury. So that will determine what is being triggered. So go ahead and try and fill out this. This was from the lesson. And then we have this, and I just wanted to give you guys some tips as to how you can remember that, how you can tell if the neuron is pseudo-neopolar, multipolar, or unipolar, and that's going to be over here, and then how to tell if it's sensory, motor, or interneuron. So I'm going to go through these very quickly for the sake of time, but go ahead, pause the video, read this, and try to answer it. Do the same for this example, and then do the same for this example. All right, go ahead, pause. And then the answers to that are going to be here. And I have a little bit of a definition to explain why those are the answers. Now, this is very important. I know I went through a lot of that fast, but these two slides right here, go ahead and screenshot it for the exam. That's going to be very important to know. Again, I'll show it again. But these two slides give a basic summary of the entire lesson. I hope that this was helpful, and good luck on the exam. Thank you.